Hello everyone and welcome back to Invincible Guarding the Globe, and today I'll be going over the best artifacts in the game so that you can improve your squads. So if you do enjoy the video, then please leave a like on the video and subscribe for more. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Thank you for all of the support on the previous videos. Again, I say this every time, but it's been amazing. I really appreciate you all. And yeah, appreciate all the likes and the comments, and welcome to all the new subscribers. So yeah, let's have a look here. So if you're new to the game, artifacts are basically items that you can add onto your heroes to give them different boosts and buffs, and make them play slightly differently in some cases, and basically aid your squad to be able to play better and win more matches. So as you can see, these are the current artifacts in the game. As of this video, there are 32 artifacts out. I won't be going over all of them in this video. I will just be going over the ones that I think are the best. Now I'm going to start off with the 5 artifacts that I'm using in my top 5 heroes. Maybe top 6, because I usually swap one of them out, and then I'll go over a few others that are very good as well. So first of all, I'm going to look, just go in order of my heroes here. Firstly, and this is in no particular order, I'm not going, best in the game to next best, next best, simply because it's difficult to say which one is necessarily the best, but yeah, these are the top ones. So firstly, with Anissa here, I am using the Flaxan stun device. This is a pretty nice and relatively new artifact. What it does is when an enemy receives any healing, the device stuns them for 3 seconds and applies electric damage over time, dealing a total of 200% of the enemy's current HP as damage over 10 seconds. Flying enemies fall to the ground when effective, and cooldown of 10 seconds. This is obviously with the artifact at level 23, so at lower levels or even higher levels the stats might be slightly different. But yeah, I've got this artifact equipped simply because it deals a nice amount of damage, but mainly the thing for me is the stun. Stunning enemies really helps, and is very strong, and 10-second cooldown basically is very quick. So yeah, that's why I've got it equipped. It's pretty strong, especially against teams that use healers, obviously. The stun really helps. 3 seconds is quite long as well. The damage is not very much, to be honest, but it's mostly just for the stun. It does obviously mean that flying enemies fall to the ground. This isn't a massive difference for my team, but it could be if you are using for example Doc Seismic, because his main ability only hits enemies on the ground. So if you are using Doc Seismic, then that might be a perfect artifact to accompany him with in your team. Next up, I've got Universa, and with her I've probably got the, I guess, best artifact for like free-to-play players, or if you're new to the game, and that is, or even if you've played it for a long time, probably the most accessible best artifact, and that is the GDA cloaking device. With this artifact, when the hero uses it, they become invisible for 4 seconds, and their critical damage is increased by 40% for 6 seconds. The cloaking device is triggered every 16 seconds. Now this is, I've got, as you see here, up to level 81. This is available in the GDA op, what's it called? Everyone Who's Anyone, as it is basically a sort of regular artifact that is available. It's also available in the equipment shop, for example. So it's a great artifact to build, not only because it is very good itself, but also it's easily accessible. You don't have to wait for certain events to be able to get it. Yeah, this boosts attack and critical chance. I forgot to say, actually, with the stun device, it boosts defense, critical chance, and energy attack. All 3 are great. Critical chance is especially good. But yeah, for this attack and critical chance for the GDA cloaking device, the attack is nice. The critical chance is especially nice, especially for Universa, which is why I have it equipped on her, mainly because of her 4th ability, Tripping the Light Fantastic. When she performs a critical hit, it bounces between the other 4 enemies on the enemy team, so she can hit all the enemies on the enemy team. So with Universa, you want the critical chance to be at the highest, and this obviously gives the critical chance boost, but also the damage boost once it's active every 16 seconds. This artifact is extremely powerful because when they become invisible, the enemies don't target them anymore. So it takes them out of the fight and gives them a damage boost. So it's super strong. Whenever I'm running any Cecil's Nightmares or anything like this with like a lower level character, like for example, we just had the Tech Jacket event, and you know, equipping my best gear to her to try and get further on in the Cecil's Nightmares, I equipped this artifact, the GDA cloaking device, because it just have it at such a high level. So the attack and critical chance boost is great, but also taking them out of the fight, making them become invisible, is super strong. So I would definitely recommend this one, especially because it's so accessible, and definitely have it probably on like an Omni-Man or Universa, someone who makes use of the critical chance and the option to be more survivable with the invisibility and just the extra damage as well. So yeah, super strong artifact with that one. Next up is on my Conquest, and this I would probably recommend for any defender, and that is the Oxygen Helmet. It boosts HP, energy defense, and gives your character some life leech. I've got mine at level 21, and at this level, when the hero uses it, it increases the hero's defense by 80% for 18 seconds at the start of the wave. Now, this is an interesting one because it only comes into effect at the start of the wave, obviously, in this case. So for example, in GDA Ops, it will actually trigger every wave, so it's very strong there. But also in Arena, it only triggers at the start of the battle, but it is for a long time. 18 seconds is still a very long time, and especially at the start of the battle is probably the most crucial stage, because that is when most of the sort of deciding happens of if you are going to win or not. So even though, after 18 seconds, this artifact literally does nothing but give you a few boosts in your stats, it's still really strong, and I have it on my Conquest here, mainly because it obviously gives a massive hero's defense buff. So this means that he will be able to take so much more damage at the start of the battle. But also, for example, it's great with Conquest because of his second ability here. When there's a leader ally on the team, which Universa counts as, Conquest increases his attack by 40% of his defense, and obviously this artifact then boosts that defense by 80% for 18 seconds. So it basically allows him to deal a huge amount of damage at the start of the fight as well. So yeah, that's why I've gone with it on Conquest, and it would still work very well on any defender. So that's what I'm using with him. Next up is General Krieg, and with him, it's a bit of an interesting one. I have the Flaxan Staff on this one. This is an artifact I've got a level 32. It boosts attack and energy attack, and you might be looking at that and thinking, why is it on General Krieg? Well, the artifact, basically, if an enemy deals, in this case at level 32, more than 2.5% of a hero's max HP as damage, at lower levels it's a higher percentage, in a single hit, they deal the same damage back, pushing the enemy back and stunning them for 3 seconds. Cooldown 10 seconds. So this used to be actually broken. They have fixed it relatively recently, but there was a time when you could equip this on, for example, an immortal, a level 1 immortal, and as long as he had his third ability, so if he was, I think, exceptional plus or whatever it is, it dealt basically the percentage of damage received back. So you could put like a level 1 immortal against like a level 2000 Omni-Man, and it would one-shot the Omni-Man, and it was very broken. So they have fixed it, but I am still using it simply because again, 10 seconds cooldown is great. Again, 3 seconds stun is great. But the main thing on this is the pushback. The pushback on the enemy once Krieg receives, in this case, 2.5% of his max HP, which isn't a lot. The pushback then triggers a Nissa. So if you have a team running a Nissa, then I would highly recommend the Flaxan Staff to be on one of your allies. Especially one that's not one of your strongest heroes, because again, they need to receive the damage to be able to trigger the artifact. So my Krieg, for example, here, as you can see, is quite a lot lower than the my Anissa. But yeah, that's mainly the reason for this artifact, is the pushback, which triggers Anissa's breakthrough ability, blast through ability, I should say, where she dashes through the team when any enemies are pushed. So this can trigger more often with the artifact, and that's such a strong ability that this artifact really helps sort of work well with Anissa. It's good on its own. You know, you get a stun and it's a low cooldown, so even without Anissa it can be good, but it's especially good with Anissa. So that's why I'm using the Flaxan staff. Next up, I've got Omni-Man. And on Omni-Man, I do have the battle hologram. Now, this is an interesting one as well. It's also readily available like the GDA cloaking device. So if you are new to the game or something like that, then this would be a great artifact for you to invest in as well. I've got mine at level 68. It boosts defense, critical chance, and critical damage, which is again very, very good. The artifact, basically, when the hero uses their ability, it reduces the allies' cooldown by 15%. So nice and simple. Basically, when your hero uses their main ability, for example, Omni-Man's here's Fault Line, when they use their main ability, it then reduces the cooldown of your other teammate's main ability. Now, this is good mostly on heroes with low cooldowns on their main ability, so that this can trigger more often. For example, Blue Suit Mark, his main ability at level 15 only has a 15-second cooldown, which is very, very fast, and then using that obviously then reduces the teammates' cooldown by quite a significant amount. It also works incredibly well with Agent Spider, because his main ability is triggered at the start of the battle. Same with the newly added Dinosaurus. When you level his abilities up, I can't remember which one, it basically means that if there's a leader on the enemy team, he immediately he has a 100% chance whatever of using his ability at the start of the battle. So especially Agent Spider, because it's guaranteed. Yeah, basically decreases the abilities of all your teammates, the cooldown, straight away with Agent Spider. Now, I have it on Omni-Man, and you may notice he doesn't have the quickest of cooldowns, 25 seconds. However, I have it on him simply because of this, these two abilities here. His second ability, I've got it at level 15, and this basically means when he is fighting against Viltrumites, he increases his critical chance by 50%, which is a huge amount. Obviously, that's on top of any boost from the artifact or gear or anything like that. And critical chance is obviously great, but that means then that this ability, after performing 3 critical hits, the next attack does 100% critical chance damage, blah blah blah. It also charges his main ability cooldown by 20%. So basically this second ability gives him higher critical chance rate when fighting against Viltrumites, who are pretty much in every matchup. And then this ability, after 3 critical hits, basically, he will decrease his main ability cooldown by 20%, and so this can go on, this can stack up very, very quickly. So his 25-second cooldown ability then usually ends up being about a 15 to 20-second cooldown, which is why I do have it on Omni-Man, and why it works well within my team. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Again, Battle Hologram is mostly good on heroes with low cooldowns, like Blue Suit or, for example, Agent Spider. But if you do have Omni-Man's abilities leveled up like I do, it does turn him into an absolute machine with his main skill ability there. Now let's actually just have a look at that in action. So I'm just going to go over to Arena and just play a match, and I'll put it down so it's not on 2 point speed, so that way you should be able to see the artifacts in action here. So let's have a look and see how we do. And see what happens. Now, okay, this one ended quite quickly. That one, I think they were using the human allies, human enemies, and Anissa ate them for lunch. So let's maybe try a different one. This one might play out a bit differently. So yeah, let's see if we can see how the artifacts work in this one here. So we've got Red Rush, we've got Omni-Man. Omni-Man did take quite a big hit there, so he might actually die before he can use his, so that's a bit unfortunate. Universe is doing work. But yeah, as you can see, Conquest didn't take a lot of damage for most of that fight, so he didn't take basically any damage until the end of the fight. He took a little bit, but that gave us enough time to win the match. So yeah, I'm also going to play this one here. I'm actually going to change it out for the Shapesmith this time, and yeah, run that and see how it goes. My Omni-Man is good and he's strong, but he's still not quite up to the level that a lot of these other enemies are, for example, and the rest of my team is. So in this case, Shapesmith will be good. There we go. That's the Kanzlok doing its work, keeping him alive, charged up his ability. Hopefully he can get the healing off. Yep, got the healing off. That's great. So he's still alive, whereas otherwise he would have just died straight away there. Conquest still hasn't taken any damage at all. We've managed to kill a lot of the enemies there. Let's see what else is happening. I think we've just won the game as well. Won the matchup. Yep, perfect. So as you can see, all of those artifacts work very, very well on all of the heroes there. So yeah, not maybe you couldn't see all of them in work, but still a decent amount there. So yeah. A few things to note then, going there, that's my top 5 heroes. I do sometimes swap out Omni-Man for Shapesmith, which brings me to my next artifact, which is Kanzlok. This is quite a new-ish addition, I think. I struggle with timing, but yeah, new-ish addition, and it's a very, very strong artifact. The artifact I've got at level 13. It boosts HP, defense, and life leech. And basically the artifact, when the wielder reaches 1 HP, they receive an immunity shield and 30% attack increase for 6 seconds. In addition, the main skill charges by 50%, which is obviously meaning that it gives you 50% charge. It's a bit weird with the wording on some of these, like for example, Omni-Man's, it decreased his ability cooldown by 20%, but this gives you 50% charge, which is basically like a 50% reduction. It's a bit weird, but basically that's what it does. Now this does have a very long cooldown of 60 seconds, mostly because it is so strong. It basically stops your hero from dying for a period of time, and I have this on Shapesmith because it especially works well with his last ability, where when his health drops below a certain point, he absorbs incoming damage and heals himself and his whole team by a large amount of HP. So Shapesmith works very well being at low HP, because he then is constantly healing himself and his allies, and he does absorb at level 15 65% of the incoming damage, but some enemies are just that powerful that they can sometimes punch through it and just kill him, whereas giving him this artifact, Kanzlok, basically gives him, usually once, maybe twice per game, an invincibility shield, literally an immunity shield, which allows him to stay alive longer and then heal back up. So that's why I have it on him, and it's super effective. It can be outdone by, for example, a Conquest, if Conquest lands a critical chance, a critical hit, and breaks the immunity barrier, but otherwise most immunity barriers in the game don't get broken through. So yeah, it's super strong on Shapesmith. I would also maybe recommend it for Blue Suit Invincible, mostly because he, when he has a shield or immunity active on him, he increases his damage by true damage, which is very, very good, and also increases his damage with, you know, once he reaches 1 HP with the Kanzlok. So works especially well on Shapesmith. Very well, I've seen it as well on Blue Suit, or anyone really, especially even a defender as well. So yeah, Kanzlok is super strong, and that's why I have it on my Shapesmith there. A few other ones to note are the Mart Burger. This used to be pretty much the best in the game. There was nothing like it, and it only boosts HP. I've got mine at level 19. And it basically, at this level, when the hero's HP drops below 20%, it heals all allies by 25% and increases their attack by 5% for 5 seconds, cooldown of 50 seconds. So this is quite good. I have it here on Alan, basically because he is a defender, so he's taking most of the damage, and once his HP drops to 20%, it gives all your allies 25% healing. The attack boost is alright, and the cooldown's quite long, but it's like basically an insta heal for your whole team, so it is very good, and you can use it in your main squad. It's maybe not as good as some of the other ones now, but it definitely was like the best in its day. Next up, I want to give a shout out to the GDA healing gel, especially on Atom Eve. I've got mine at level 15. It boosts HP defense and energy defense. And the artifact, when the hero applies any buff to an ally, it also applies a healing over time effect equal to 95% of the defense stat for 8 seconds. Equal to 95% of their defense stat. So basically what this means is if the hero you have it on applies any buff to an ally, it applies healing to them as well. And the reason why I have it on Atom Eve is simply because A, she does a lot of healing, and B, her main ability gives your entire team a shield. And so basically this powers up that main ability and increases the healing with it. It does use the defense stat, which obviously Atom Eve isn't a defensive hero, but it really helps just apply a huge amount of healing to the team. So that's why I wanted to give a shout out to that. It also works well with, for example, like Robot and heroes like this that apply buffs to your team. So yeah, very, very strong there. Maybe would work even well with Krieg, although his is a shield at the start of the battle, so maybe that's more for GD ops. But anyway, yeah, hopefully that helps. Having a look at some other ones, Damien's Dark Blood Notes, which decreases the defense of all human enemies at my highest level here is 69. The enemies by 20% is pretty strong. Again, defense decrease against enemies is always good. That's what makes Anissa so strong. And a few others to note, especially the Golden Apple. This was recently introduced and is incredibly elusive, so not many people have this. I don't have it myself. As you can see, I've only got 7 out of the 50 required pieces to unlock it. And this basically increases defense and critical chance, and the Golden Apple boosts the final wave count in the wielder's assigned GDA op by 5%, thereby increasing its final rewards ... So it basically gives you more loot from whatever GDA op you're running. So especially with like event GDA ops and things like that, it gives you even more loot and heroes or whatever it is that you get from the GDA ops. So it's incredibly strong. Even just 5% is big and can make the difference, which is why it's so good. But it is, again, very difficult to come by and has only been in a select few events. So I don't imagine most people have this. I don't myself, but it's one to look out for. And if it does come up, I would definitely say go for it if you can. Another one to note is Ragnar's Claw. I don't have this one either, but it boosts HP, critical chance, and physical attack. And it basically, critical hits deal additional damage equal to 5% of the wielder's current HP, and has a cooldown of 3 seconds. So this is basically a straight damage boost for any critical hits. So especially heroes that do a lot of critical hits, for example, Omni-Man, or Universa especially, this gives even though it's 5%, a noticeable difference in damage boost. This would especially work well with Universa because she's in the back line, and she's not ideally in the back line, not up front taking damage from enemies, because it's based on the wielder's current HP. If you have a high level Universa, this will do wonders for that. So again, I don't have it myself, but I've seen a lot of other people use it, and even just with the stats alone, it definitely is super strong. Yeah, that's probably most of them. A few others that are pretty good just off the top of my head. The Neuralink chip's very good to use on like Invincible, because he's in most matchups and gives all heroes present in the team a bonus to 9% of the wielder's stats if the wielder is facing themselves. So basically, if you're using, for example, Invincible, and the enemy team has Invincible as well, it gives all of your team 9% of, in this case, Invincible stats. And I have Invincible because he's probably the most common character in the game, so this triggers often when he's facing them, so that's pretty good. There's also, for example, the Obedience Collar, which every 20 seconds applies a confusion on the enemy, which is pretty strong. Again, stuns and confusion are very good. And the Flaxan's Jetpack as well is a pretty new one. This one I've got on my Thrag, and it improves HP, attack, and defense. It basically, flying heroes get a damage boost of 3.5% when attacking enemies with the grounded tag. So as long as your heroes are flying a hero and they're attacking enemies that are grounded, so anyone basically not flying, who isn't a flyer hero, I should say, they just do a straight, in this case, 3.5% extra damage. So it's not very much, but especially if your heroes are higher level and there's maybe a lot of grounded enemies, then it can deal a large amount of damage there. One other thing just to quickly go over would be the Flaxan armor. Again, I don't actually have this one myself, but it is pretty useful if you maybe have a team that requires a leader and you don't have one built. It's maybe quite rare because a lot of the best heroes are leaders. For example, Universa, Thrag, Krieg, you know, Cecil, I guess, for GDA characters and teams. But basically, this artifact adds the leader tag to the wielder. Additionally, applies a shield of 20% of the current HP to the wielder for 5 seconds every 30 seconds. So it gives you the leader tag, which is good for your heroes that need leaders on the team. And it also gives a shield 20% of the current HP for 5 seconds every 30 seconds. So it gives you a shield relatively often, but the main thing is for the leader tag. If you need a leader on your team and you don't have one built, then this artifact is super strong to help with that. Otherwise, most of the others you can probably ignore. Some of them are pretty decent, but yeah, those would probably be the best ones in the game that I would say. So yeah, hopefully this helped. Leave a comment down below if you have any further thoughts or strategies that help you, or if you think maybe one of the other artifacts are better. Again, thank you for all of the support on the videos. It's been amazing. I really appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully this helped. If it did, then please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel for more, and yeah, cheers and see you in the next one.